This is your second tutorial for the chapter strings, and here we'll be looking at some of the string functions. Last time we saw some of the character functions. Some of them are the same. The first two are actually, it has the same syntax as the character functions. It's two lowercase and two uppercase. Same thing, two uppercase. Same thing as the character function. It just converts your whole string into either lowercase or uppercase. So here I have this sample string which I'll be using throughout this to demonstrate all the functions. So if you apply two lowercase to this ABC123, all the letters will get converted to lowercase. So it's all going to be the same except you'll get a small a, and then so on like this. If you do two uppercase, you're going to get all capitals. The numbers will remain unaffected. You can't have lowercase or uppercase for them. So just all of them convert to lowercase and all of them convert to uppercase. The third function is, it's called replace. Though you're not supposed to use it, but I'll still tell you. There are some functions where you won't have to use them in section B because they just make your program really easy. But you do need to know them for section A. They can come and predict the output and all. This is one of them, so I'll just put a star next to it. Only in section A you need it. Replace, it'll have parameters, it'll have brackets like this, and you can either put in two characters or you can put in two strings. So say if I put in over here a capital A and I put in a capital D like this, and I apply it to this string over here that I've got, ABC123. This function is going to replace all the capital A's with capital D's. That's all it does. So your final string will come out to be DBC123 with the D being a capital. You can do the same thing for strings. So if I say as a parameters I pass 1, 2, 3 and my second parameter is 4, 5, 6, the function will just replace all the 1, 2, 3's appearing in the string with 4, 5, 6. So I will get ABC 4, 5, 6. So you're just replacing the first parameter with the second parameter. So you can either have two characters or two strings. But remember that if you get a program in section B where you need to perform a task like this, like say you need to replace all the vowels with a number, or you need to replace all the occurrences of a certain word. For example, you need to replace hot with cold. I think there's an example of this in your textbook. You can easily use this function replace and finish your program in 2 or 3 lines, but the whole point of it is to test whether you can do it manually, and for that you use the other functions which I'm just going to come to. So do not use this for section B. There's another function which you rarely use. It's called trim. Again, it's not of much use in section B, though I think you can use it, I'm not sure. Trim, you shouldn't use it if you have a choice, but trim, all it does is takes your string and deletes all the spaces from the beginning and the end. So say my string was something like this. There's a space over here, sample, there's another space, there are 2 more spaces at the end. And while you're manipulating the string, you don't want these spaces to interfere with the whole process. So you just want the characters. So if you apply the trim function, that function will just trim the ends off for you. All the spaces from the beginning and the end will go. So your final string will just be a sample like this. Also remember, it just takes it out from the beginning and the end. So say I had a space in between this sample word. Say I had Sam space PLE. Then after trimming it, it would still remain Sam space PLE. It only removes it from the beginning and the end, not from the middle. Again, you can do this logically as well, manually, using the other functions. So for section B, don't use it, but know how it works and what it does for section A. There's a very important function now, equals, where you're going to be using it section A, section B, everywhere. Equals, the word tells you, it's a function that compares two strings and outputs whether they are equal or not. Now in strings, and I think in generally in all programming languages, whenever you say equal, it it implies that you're looking for every single corresponding character to be equal. Say I have a string like this, ABC 1 2 3. Now if you read it out, it looks the same as this string over here. I'll read this as ABC 1 2 3. I'll read this also as ABC 1 2 3. But the difference is that there's a capital A over there. So these two strings will not be equal. They have to match completely. Same way, if I had capital A, B, C, space 1 2 3, then it would not be equal to the first string, the original sample string, again because it has that space. So the two strings to be equal need to match completely. Each character needs to match the other string's corresponding character. So this function will just return either a true or a false, so boolean value. It will not tell you whether which string comes first in the alphabetical order. There's another function which is again very important for both sections, and you'll be using it a lot. It's called length. I think you already know what it does. Length is a function that just simply gives you the length of the string, any string that you give it. So there's also a question which you should keep in mind, a difference question. What's the difference between length, simply length, and length with brackets? These are two separate functions. Just remember that the one without brackets is used for finding the length of arrays. If you do arr.length, you'll get some value which is the length of the array, when arr is an array. But if you do string or str, which is a string, dot length, this is wrong code because it's just going to throw an exception. So you have to put the brackets over here, then it'll give you the length of the string. So just keep that in mind, it might be asked in section A. So the length function, we're not looking at this right now. So the length with brackets function is used to find the length of strings. It just counts the number of characters in your string. So it's going to include all the spaces, all the numbers, everything in it. So the length, I've written it here already. The length of ABC123 is 6. Because you can see this is, I'm just numbering them so you can see why it's 6. If there was a space added at the end over here after 3, then the length would become 7. But that's not there right now, so I'll remove it. Okay, so 6 is your length. It no matter whether your character is a special character, a digit, a number, sorry, that's the same thing, a character, a capital, a small letter, it's going to count everything in it. So this gives you the length, and it's very helpful while you're changing and playing around with strings. Another, there's a third very important function which is called caret. Caret, it just helps you take out a character from a string, a certain character from a string. Say I give you a variable, it's called char x, and I want you to take out the 2 from this string abc123 and store it in this char x. And I've given you that str is equal to abc123. This is the function caret which will help you do it. So I think you might know, if you've done the chapter arrays also, you'll know. I think you might know this if you've done the chapter arrays also, that whenever you're naming certain parts of an array or naming certain parts of a string over here, you always assign the first character, or in the case of arrays, the first element, the index 0. There needs to be a way in programming languages to just refer to a certain character in a string or a certain element in an array. So that numbering starts from 0. So your first character is 0. That means your last character is the length minus 1. For this string we found that the length is 6. You look at the last index, it's 5. That means it's 6 minus 1, 5. And why is that? It's because your length starts numbering from 1. So it goes 1, 2, 3, so on. But your index starts from 0. 0, 1, 2. So you can compare these two. The difference between this and this will always be 1. So whenever you're manipulating strings in all your programs, you'll have for loops to go through the string. Now I'm going to just put in a sample one over here. I think I'm going to open BlueJ and show you. Okay, so just a small program on how to go through a string. So let's just name it sample over here. Okay, so I'm just creating a very simple program, public void, let's just name it method. So you have a string, let's name it s, is equal to, I'll initialize it to a, b, c, 1, 2, 3. So now what I want to do is take out each member of this string. Okay, I need to take out each member of this string, that means each character, and just display it individually. So what I want as the output is something like this. So all of them should be just displayed in separate lines. That's all the program should do. So for that you need to use the length function and the char at function. So let's just store the length first. Int length is equal to s dot length. Remember the brackets. So now length, you can figure out that it'll have a value of 6. So you have that value now. Now you need a for loop. I'll just name the variable I. Now remember it starts from 0. You need to go through each index over here in the for loop. So you need to start from this 0 over here, not from 1, because then you'll be leaving out the first character. So you need to go from 0 to 5. In other words, you need to go always from 0 to length minus 1, because that's the last character. Your first character is 0. So you need to include length minus 1. You don't need to include length. Okay, so our for loop will go from 0 to less than equal to length minus 1 I plus plus. Now alternatively you could also write, if you want to write a less than, not less than equal to, then you could just make it I is less than length. If you find that more convenient and easier to remember or understand. So I less than length, it will go up till length, but it will not include the length. So you can see here the length is 6. The loop will go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and when it reaches 6 it won't include it because it's less than. If it is less than equal to, then it will include this. So either you can do less than 6 or you can do less than equal to 5. So it comes down to the same thing. You can choose whichever one you want. So I'll use I less than equal to length minus 1. And we just need to take out each character of the string as we go by it. So when we're at I equal to 0, we need to just create another character variable. Let's name it char x again. I'll initialize it just to a blank space. So x is equal to s dot char at I. So each time this loop runs, x, your character variable x, will take up the value of the ith index in the string s. So when you just start the loop, it's going to take up the value a. It's going to be a character like this with the value a. Second iteration b, then c, and then so on. So we need to display these. Now by writing this code, we've got the character that we need. So now simply system.out.println x, and that's it. I'll close everything. Hopefully it'll work. Okay, so sorry about the previous output. That's another program that I was just writing. So here is the output that I don't think you can see it right now. Yeah, here. Now it's in the window. So here's the output: ABC 1 2 3 with a capital A, all in separate lines. Compare it to what we needed. It's the exact same thing. So this is just a for loop that if I can explain you how it goes through. You have the string over here. First iteration, x is equal to s dot caret I, and I is equal to 0. That means the character with the index 0 will get stored in x, and the string is s only that we're talking about. So from the string s, that's ABC123, x will take up the value of the 0th index, and that'll be an a. Then what we do is just print it by doing system.println. The for loop comes back again. Remember, it goes all the way up till 5, up till length not including length, or including length minus 1, whichever one you want to say. So next time it'll your I will equal to 1, so it'll take up the character with the index 1, and look at this over here, it'll take up a b, and then it prints it. So your terminal window, your output will start looking something like this, and then so on. It'll go till C 1 2 3. When it reaches 3, the for loop is going to stop, because the index will be 5, so it's going to be less than 6, and or it's going, you can say it's going to be less than equal to length minus 1, so it stops over there. So this is the general format of the for loops that you're going to use in all your programs, and there's no need to learn it up or anything. Once you do the programs, you'll get to know it on your own. So I'm out of time over here. I still have, I think, a page full of functions to do. They're not hard at all though, so I'll be doing that in another tutorial.